Hey Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Before we start today's Philadelphia Eagles Now news and rumor video, use the hashtag Eagles. Get your questions in for a weekend mailbag that we always do here every single week on the channel. You ask a question, and more than likely, if you use the hashtag Eagles down below, I will pull it and answer it in a video later on this week. All right, let's go and jump into the latest Eagles news and rumors. A ton of stuff to get into, some important stuff to get into. And as we always do here, we get news headlines and we actually break down exactly what is going on. And a perfect example of that is the Doug Pederson update. So as you probably know, if you're an Eagles fan, head coach Doug Pederson did test positive for COVID-19, test positive for coronavirus just a couple of days ago. He is the second NFL head coach to test positive, as of course Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints was positive earlier in the offseason. Now, Doug Pederson did speak for the first time since testing positive to the media via a Zoom meeting yesterday and reassured the team that he is fine, he remains asymptomatic, and currently he is still able to hold meetings and is really maintaining the head coaching job right now in the National Football League. He's working around this in a way that I think is important for other teams to see. The Eagles are really setting a precedent for, hey, if someone important, and you can argue the head coach is the most important person on any single NFL overall team, if he can get it, work from home and be fine, then we can work through this and actually have and finish an NFL season. So here's what Doug Pederson told the media, quote, I think one of the things that I've learned this offseason is that I can still run the team virtually. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've been able to do today. Even yesterday, holding staff meetings, things of that nature, team meetings. Of course, Pederson would also go on to say, quote, and I also want to reiterate the fact that I'm very comfortable and confident the protocols we have in place at NovaCare are for the best interests of the football team and for all those who enter that building, and it is still a very safe environment. Now, the Eagles quarterback coach also was sent home because he was in close contact with Doug Pederson. He is self-quarantining, but essentially how this will work now is Doug will be home, hopefully remains asymptomatic. He will then wait out 10 days before he can return to the Eagles, the NovaCare complex where the Eagles have training camp, or 2 positive COVID-19 tests within 24 hours. That's the head coach protocol, and that will be the actual player protocol as more and more people, most likely, as it's bound to happen, will test positive for COVID-19, as some Eagles already have, like Lane Johnson. Now, this is all good news in terms of the timing for Doug Pederson, because if you wanted to have COVID, or if you were going to have COVID, you'd want to have it at the beginning of the beginning of training camp versus in the middle of the NFL season. And if all goes well, and again, he remains asymptomatic, there are a lot of important training camp dates that he will be there for. So right now, they're doing the acclimation period where they get 1 hour of lifting and 1 hour of on-field walkthroughs where no coaches can be present. So he's not missing a lot right now. And he should be back by the 12th, which is when the helmets will go on and they can start kind of ramping practices up before the start of real practices in terms of the actual training camp when the pads go on August 17th. So if everything remains the same, and then Doug Pederson should be out there and coaching the team, it's going to be absolutely no problem. He'll be ready to go with the team for week 1 again in the NFL season on September 13th. A side note that is important to say, you see a lot of headlines, right? This guy tests positive. Matthew Stafford tested positive. Doug Pederson, Lane Johnson, Gardner Minshew, they're all on the COVID list. And there has been no reported cases of any NFL players or coaches who have tested positive or are on the COVID list who have any sort of severe symptoms. Every single one that we have seen so far has come back 100% healthy and good to go. It's important to know as people try and, they'll be like, is the NFL season going to happen? It's a little bit scary here. Again, majority of people the age of the NFL players have a very, very, very small chance of not only having bad symptoms, but actually being fatal with COVID-19. It's not a guarantee, right? There's no guarantee in anything in the world, but it is important to note that just because Doug tested positive or Lane Johnson tests positive, at 99.999% of the time means they're going to be back in a couple of days and should be good to go. It's important to note. Now, one final thing here on who will take over the duties if Pederson's leave of absence is extended, which hopefully it is not. That person is Deuce Staley, who, of course, is the running back coach and the assistant head coach. Deuce right now is running everything, and Doug Pederson spoke on that yesterday to the media as well, saying, quote, Deuce, being the assistant head coach, just assumes my role as far as day-to-day activities in the building. He and I talk every morning. I give my thoughts, and he carries that message forward. So again, they have a protocol in place. They have a plan in place. This is not a big problem for Philadelphia. They seem to be handling this very, very well. And as bad as it is for anyone to test positive for COVID-19, Pederson is asymptomatic, looks good to go, and hopefully hopefully this is a lesson to all other 31 NFL teams that, hey, we can get through this. If we have some positive cases, it is going to be okay, which means the NFL season has a much higher chance of starting and finishing, which is good news for all of us. Now, drop a like to send head coach Pederson some love right now. Obviously, again, asymptomatic, he should be fine, but still, like this video just to show him some love and show your support for the head coach who, of course, won Philadelphia their first and only Super Bowl. And if you want to obviously stay safe, as I'm sure Doug Pederson is trying to do and all the players are trying to do, then you want football in 2020, then go ahead and be sure you're wearing a mask everywhere you go whenever you are heading into buildings and obviously being safe with just that. And we got some cool Eagles masks right now at chatsports.com/Eagles mask. You can also stay safe and rep the Philadelphia Eagles with a whole bunch of different options in terms of look and different styles in terms of 1-pack, 2-pack, 3-pack. There's a bunch of them. They're all there, chatsports.com/Eagles mask. Go ahead and pick one up today. All right, so the next bit of news here comes from Pro Football Focus, and I'm not a massive Pro Football Focus fan, but he is very well plugged in, and he made an interesting take on where Antonio Brown should sign. He thinks he should be a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, if you've been following the Antonio Brown saga, as I know a lot of you guys have because you DM me on Twitter about it all the time, you will have known that Antonio Brown has been suspended for the first 8 games of the NFL season. Now, what have I said many times when you've asked the question about Antonio Brown? I said he's going to be suspended for the majority of the NFL season. Don't touch him. I don't want Antonio Brown. So I am against the Eagles signing him, but I understand where Pro Football Focus and Mike Florio come with this whole idea. Now, before I show you exactly what he said, you be the GM with an 8-game suspension. So you'd get him for the final 8 games of the NFL year. Would you sign Antonio Brown? Type Y down below for yes. Type N down below for no. I'm on the assumption this would be a last resort type signing. Philadelphia would have to absolutely need him to do it, so I still say no. But here's what Pro Football Focus said, which I think makes some sense here. Quote, I think the Eagles would be a perfect spot. I think it's an organization that could find a way to, you remember the emotional, intelligent buzzword from Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, owner of the team when they hired Doug Pederson to be the coach. I feel like Pederson could find a way to press the buttons and hold it together and get the most out of Antonio Brown. It would really make that offense better. So what he's saying essentially is he could push the right buttons to make sure Antonio Brown does not have any sort of issues like he had in Oakland and in Pittsburgh and in New England. The problem is, if Bill Belichick can't push the right buttons, we sure that Doug Pederson can. I'm not saying Pederson is a worse head coach than Bill Belichick, but Belichick is supposed to be the guy who can get anyone to play for him at any time, and it didn't work out with Antonio Brown. Would he make the Eagles better? Yes, 100%. But is it worth the drama that would inevitably come with it? I think the only way that you would touch Antonio Brown is if the first 8 games of the NFL season, the Eagles lose multiple receivers and their one lacking area would be wide receiver, like it was last year. Because then, you look after Week 8, he missed the Cowboy game, which is important to note. He would not be there for Week 8. He would obviously not be there for Week 9 because it's a bye week, so he wouldn't play. But after Week 9, it's a tough schedule, right? Browns, Giants is kind of iffy. Then Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, and the Washington football team. So, again, would I sign Antonio Brown? No. But if you lose multiple wide receivers, and it's a repeat of 2019, and Carson Wentz is playing incredible, he just needs more help, maybe, just maybe, this could maybe be an option there for the final 8 games of the NFL season. But I'm going to say it again. I highly doubt it. It is worth noting, you see it down below. Antonio Brown, if you were to be signed right now, could participate in training camp. His suspension starts on September 5th. So just a little side note there for all you AB fanatics out there who are very excited. If the Eagles do sign Antonio Brown at any time, which again, massive if, I don't think it'll happen, but if it does, we'll have it covered for you guys here at Philadelphia Eagles Now, so make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell clicked. That way, as soon as I drop a video, you are one of the first people to see it and get up to date on the latest Eagles news and rumors. Final little thing here, and this isn't really news, but I think it's fascinating. You gotta look inside the Eagles whenever you can. And there's a great article in the Philadelphia Inquirer right now that talks about the relationship between Oklahoma Sooner head coach Lincoln Riley, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jalen Reagor. It's kind of a weird triangle here, but essentially, this whole article by the Philadelphia Inquirer cites how Lincoln Riley has been pivotal in the Eagles scouting process over the past couple of years and has had a massive influence on who Philadelphia not only took this year, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Reagor, but other years as well. And this makes me love Jalen Reagor more and more every single time I read stories like this. So the Inquirer says, quote, Riley even had some influence in the Eagles' decision to take TCU wide receiver Jalen Reagor in the first round. Riley had recruited Reagor when he was a high school star at Waxahachie, say that right, Texas High School. His team also played against him for 3 years in the Big 12. He spoke glowing of him to Eagles scouts when they talked to him about Hurts. He indicated that Reagor would have been a 100-catch-a-year receiver in Oklahoma's offense. So You go back to the NFL draft, the Eagles weren't able to get CeeDee Lamb. He becomes a Dallas Cowboy, and everyone says, well, CeeDee Lamb was way better than Jalen Reagor. Well, CeeDee Lamb was in the Lincoln Riley, Jalen Hurts offense, and Jalen Reagor had a rotating pool of quarterbacks at TCU and what is known as a defensive team in the Big 12. So the numbers you see on your screen are not a real indication of who is better in terms of Lamb and Reagor. So it's interesting to see how a team can build a relationship like the Eagles with a college head coach, and that head coach can have a massive impact on who the Eagles drafted. Reagor, Hurts, they talked about staying away from an offensive lineman from Oklahoma last year because he couldn't play left tackle and they wanted to play right tackle. There's a whole little article on the Philadelphia Inquirer that is fascinating. I think shows why Eagle fans should be very excited about Jalen Reagor in the hopes that he becomes a rising, budding star in the NFL. That way, you don't have to bother with aging and drama queen Antonio Brown. So, who will have the better NFL career? I want to know what you guys think on this one. Reagor or Lamb? Type R down below for Reagor. Type L down below for Lamb. I want to see what you guys think down below in the comments section. There you go, though. I wanted to break down the latest news, and the Pederson one's the big one here in terms of testing positive, asymptomatic, should be good to go. Again, the majority. And again, there has not been a single case of an NFL player who was tested positive for COVID-19, who has had a significant downtime or significant symptoms in any way. So hopefully Pederson is fine, and hopefully this shows the NFL that, hey, they have the right protocols in place, they're going to be okay, and we'll have football here in 2020. All the time we have for today here at Philadelphia Eagles Now. I am your host and fearless leader, Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.